certain gods and goddesses resonate very strongly with us. Millions of people worship Goddess Lakshmi on Diwali because we want wealth, prosperity and abundance for the year ahead. Ganpati is invoked before starting anything new because we do not want any obstacles in our way. The warrior kingdoms used to worship Goddess Durga to be blessed with her courage and fearlessness. So these gods and goddesses are the symbols and metaphors of the collective human needs, aspirations and desires of a particular time in a society and culture. Looking at these symbols deeply reveals a lot about ourselves. Have you heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist, and he mapped the human needs and motivations in a hierarchical format in the form of a pyramid. Look at this pyramid, where each level represents something that we are motivated to fulfill. It starts with our basic survival needs at the bottom and moving up to the more complex needs like self-fulfillment, self-actualization, and then transcendence. The idea is that if the bottom level needs are unmet, we will be unable to progress to fulfilling our next level needs, higher level needs. Do you notice that each of these needs beautifully aligns with some or the other god or goddess that we have in Indian mythology? Starting with the non-negotiable physiological needs of food, water, warmth, shelter. So there's Goddess Annapurna who provides this nourishment to us. Moving up to safety needs, where security, stability becomes essential. So we have Goddess Lakshmi who provides us the financial security and grounding stability. Next we have love and belongingness needs. Goddess Parvati is associated with these. Next, esteem needs. And so we look at Goddess Durga for inner strength and self-respect, while Goddess Lakshmi again symbolizes social recognition, status, dignity. After this, we have an urge for self-actualization, the drive to become who we really are. Goddess Saraswati symbolizes this through her wisdom, creativity, and intellectual growth. And finally, at the peak of this hierarchy lies transcendence, where one seeks liberation and spiritual unity. Here, Goddess Kali symbolizes freedom from ego and attachment. In this video, we are looking at Goddess Lakshmi's archetype because we all just celebrated Diwali and she's fresh in our collective consciousness. We all know about her connection to material abundance, but what is really overlooked is that she can also provide us spiritual abundance. To really understand her, let's look at how she is portrayed. There are 4 symbols that stand out for me. The first is the lotus that she's sitting on. In some pictures, she's standing on this lotus. Then her hand gestures, the gold that she's showering, the owl that's her vehicle. Let's dive deeper into what each of these symbols means. The lotus adds a lot of depth to her imagery, and you'll know what I'm saying in just a few minutes. It is a recurring motif in various descriptions of Goddess Lakshmi, very predominant in Shri Suktam, the devotional hymn from the Vedas. The lotus seed can stay dormant for more than 1,000 years, and it blossoms into a plant only when the conditions are right. In the same way, Goddess Lakshmi comes into our life when the conditions are right, both externally and more importantly, internally. When we know how to receive, the lotus is drawing nutrients from under the water's surface, a place which is muddy, not clear, which is slow moving or stagnant. It's a place where most of us would avoid entering into. So this is what Lakshmi wants us to understand about prosperity and wealth, that it doesn't come from places which are shiny and spotless. It comes when we deal with the messiness of life, because these messy and muddy places, they are full of life lessons. They bring out our hidden strengths and our true potential. As the Indian mythologist Devdutt Patnaik has written, Wealth in its most primal form comes from under the surface. Plants come from under the ground, minerals come from under the ground, water comes from under the ground, even petrol comes from under the ground. Little wonder then that Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of wealth, is called Patala Nivasini, she who resides in the subterranean realm. The lotus's ability to stay connected with its underwater base and shines so beautifully above it reflects that growth and beauty is about integration. It is not about escaping to something which seems higher. The lotus as a whole represents divine potential. It is an important symbol not just in Hinduism but also in Buddhism and Jainism. This is a quote from Bhagavad Gita: "One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus is untouched by water." The Buddhist idea Om Mani Padme Hum, that translates to "the jewel is in the lotus." It is a Sanskrit mantra associated with Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. It reflects that our essence does not come from the external surroundings. It comes from the inner light and spiritual beauty within us. In today's world, it is a symbol of extreme hope. The next symbol is the hand gestures or mudras. She has total 4 hands. In 2 she is holding a lotus and the other 2 are in very powerful mudras. The first one is Varada Mudra, which signifies her role as the giver. So the palm is facing outward and the fingers are pointing down. And she's giving the blessings freely flowing. The next one is Abhaya Mudra. Palm is facing outward, fingers are pointing up. This signifies her role as somebody who can secure us, who can back us, because she has an abundance of resources. The third symbol that really draws me in is the gold that she's showering. Ooh, it's hard to picture her without that gold. And gold has always been a big deal in India. It signifies a good life with wealth and financial security. Beyond wealth, it signifies purity because in its pure form, gold does not rust or tarnish, which gives it a timeless quality. What I love is how gold is flowing freely from her hands. She's not trying to hold on to it. Then look at her sitting on this lotus, whose roots are in dirty, muddy water, unclear water. And she is pouring out gold, which is pure and bright. It symbolizes some form of alchemy and transformation happening through her, through spiritual purification. And through this internal purification, this abundance is created, which will flow through you. You cannot hold on to it for yourself. The next symbol that I'm interested in is Lakshmi's owl. Owls are creatures that sleep throughout the day and they just venture out at night. But they have an ability to see in the dark, which is required to cut through illusions. And Lakshmi ji respects this discernment to differentiate between what is perishable wealth versus what is non-perishable wealth. Choosing between a natural environment versus fancy building, between a job that pays a very high salary but is against your nature versus something that will give you more growth and satisfaction in the long term. There is so much to Goddess Lakshmi than I ever realized, and her influence goes beyond Hinduism. In Mahayana Buddhism, Lakshmi is often recognized as Sri Lakshmi or Mahashri, and her role here is less about wealth in a material sense, but more about abundance in the form of blessings, spiritual prosperity, and protection for her devotees. Norgyunma is a form of Lakshmi in Tibetan Buddhism. She is considered a wealth deity who brings fortune, good luck, and blessings, always with the understanding that wealth should serve the dharma and it should help alleviate suffering by supporting temples, monastic communities, and practitioners who need resources for spiritual pursuits. In Japanese Buddhism, she is known as Kishoten, and she's more related to household harmony and abundance. Spiritual communities do rely on Goddess Lakshmi's blessings in one form or the other to maintain their space for prayer, meditation, and studies. So, spiritual life is not totally disconnected with material life. They also need material abundance so that they can do their practice without any obstacles. Some goddesses are really known as punishers if somebody offends them. But Lakshmi isn't one of them. She's not a punisher. She is very compassionate. She's very fickle, so she may leave, and that's one form of punishment, but she's not gonna come after you. In fact, in Daya Shatakam, a Sanskrit hymn, she is described as this force that bends cosmic justice with her compassion. While the universe may be ready to punish you, to hold you accountable, Goddess Lakshmi steps in and offers her grace. Can you imagine Goddess Lakshmi and Goddess Saraswati quarreling? Well, it's not an actual fight, but it's a philosophical idea. In Indian philosophy, there is an understanding that material pursuits and spiritual pursuits, they don't always coexist harmoniously with each other. Because when you focus or become attached too much to one of them, then you may neglect the other one, and vice versa. Ganesha is the harmonizing force over here. If you see the pictures with 3 of them present, Ganesha is sitting between Saraswati and Lakshmi. In Hindu mythology, one of the key events was Samudra Manthan, or churning of the ocean milk. It appears in many texts like Mahabharata, Vishnu Purana, Bhagavata Purana. 14 items come out of this churning. The churning was required to access the nectar of immortality, but it was hidden deep within the layers of the ocean. To create this churning, it required opposite forces on each side. So on one side, there were devas who represent the good, and on the other side, there were asuras who are power-seeking and greedy. They don't get along well generally, but for this churning, they come together, and when the rewards start coming out of the ocean as a result of this churning, the first thing that comes out is the poison, halal. For me, it symbolizes that when we are in a churning-like situation, facing forces from all the directions, that is the time that we discover our true selves, our character is built or is discovered, our values are discovered, our strength is discovered. And that is the time when we are also faced with a lot of negativity and self-doubt. But we need to let that pass in order to access the best of us. Goddess Lakshmi is one of the 14 products that come out of this journey. When she comes out, she's radiating beauty, wealth, and abundance. And all the gods would like to marry her. But she chooses Vishnu. Now, why would she want to marry Vishnu? Let's understand that. Vishnu was the only god who wasn't chasing after her. Vishnu is the steady preserver, and he just didn't want her riches. He knew how to use them to keep the cosmos in balance. And so she chose Vishnu because together they form a dynamic, ongoing cycle where Vishnu preserves life and cosmic order, and Lakshmi's abundance fuels and renews it. Her energy revitalizes the universe, and his guidance keeps it in harmony. She's more than his consort. She has an independent power. In Vaishnava tradition, Lakshmi is both part of Vishnu and separate from him. She represents Shakti, the autonomous feminine force. In Lakshmi Tantra, she even takes precedence over Vishnu at times. We also need to understand the paradox in her nature. In Indian society, Lakshmi symbolizes an ideal wife, family prosperity and stability. What we forget is that Lakshmi has a really fickle nature. She leaves abruptly when she's not respected. If we are attributing her characteristics to the feminine in the house, the feminine needs to be respected. Lakshmi's departure is not punitive. She's not an angry goddess. So it's more like a message. We can ask Goddess Lakshmi for anything, not just money. And to truly enjoy that abundance that she can bless us with, we need two qualities. Number one, santosha or satisfaction. It is a deep satisfaction that comes when our core needs are met. Number two, vairagya, detachment, so that we are not holding on to whatever she has blessed us with. We are enjoying it. We are using it freely and sharing it freely. Somebody who really feels abundant will display these two qualities. Just like everyone, Goddess Lakshmi also has a shadow. When the churning of the ocean or Samudra Manthan happened, there was another thing that came out, that is Alakshmi, or the goddess of misfortune. She dwells in places where families are quarreling, women and children are disrespected. In a sense, Alakshmi serves as a warning against disregard for ethical prosperity. She is said to arrive uninvited when Lakshmi is disrespected or taken for granted. To truly honor Lakshmi, we must pay attention to things which might bring in her shadow aspects or might scare her away. As we wrap up, what is your biggest takeaway? And how do you plan to invite Goddess Lakshmi's wisdom into your life? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. Please support my work by subscribing to my channel, and if you like this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends and family members.